Let's now see how to modify objects. I'm assuming here that you already know how to create, control and destroy objects in the game. If you don't, I suggest that you first have a look at the previous video in the series of tutorials, which is all about object controlling. So let's create a new object here. I'm going to send it on the left so that we can have a better look at it while we are modifying it. And let us now display its window. So the first thing that we are going to change is the name of the object. So we can name it whatever you... what's that? Oh yeah, I'm still in English. Let's get back to my French keyboard just for typing a new name, my new object here, and back to English. Right. So the first thing you can modify is the name of the object, which is displayed here, here and here. So as soon as I'm going to click on the apply button, you can see that all the field corresponding to the name of the object will be updated. The second thing that you can modify is the picture that is displayed on the object. The object texture is by default a black house on a white background. We are going to change this at once. So in order to do that, you want to click on the picture and it will open a new window, which is a file chooser. This window displays the current directory you are in. It also gives you two buttons, one to go into the default directory, which is, as you can see, a directory that is packaged with the game, and that is in the installation directory of the game, which is here, program file YAG. Next, you've got a button to go to the campaign directory, which is located under My Documents, YAG User Library Default Campaign Image. If you don't know about the campaign directory, then you should watch the campaign video, which will explain to you what a campaign is and a little bit about those directory things. So let us say that for the moment the campaign directory is the directory where all the images of the campaign are stored. So you've got those two buttons to go to the two default directories of the game. Then you've got a list of buttons here that will allow you to navigate through all your hard drive. The first button will always be a button to go into the parent directory. So when I'm clicking this button, you can see that I go into the parent directory every time until I come to my drives here. Let's go back to C. And the other buttons will display every available directory in this directory so that you can navigate through all your directory, and it will also display every available pictures in this directory. So let's go back to the default directory here, and let's go to object, for example, and you can see that the game displays the images available in this directory. Currently the game recognizes only three types of images: JPEG, PNG and BMP. So we've got here a bunch of JPEGs. When you click on a picture, then the last field here will display a preview of the picture that you have selected. Okay, so let us choose this texture, for example, and when you click on the preview picture, then it will send the image here in the object window. As you noticed, the picture is still not displayed on the object. It's because I didn't click on the apply button. As a reminder, when you want any change to be applied and saved, do not forget to click on the apply button. So let's do that, and you can see that at once the new picture is displayed on the object. You can see that there's a problem though. The picture is not a square, it has an aspect ratio, and still our object is still a cube, so the aspect ratio of the picture is not respected currently. This will be addressed in a moment. So right, we know how to change the name and the picture of the object. Let us now have a look at its properties here. So you've got a button, Pawn Properties, that you can click to display or hide all the properties of the object. The first is the velocity. You've got linear velocity and angular velocity. Well, you can change that if you want your object to go slower here or much faster here. Oops, that's a bit nervous. Let's come back to the default value. And it's the same for the angular velocity if you want to rotate the object more precisely than the default 15 degrees angles. Next is the aspect ratio of the object. You've got two buttons that we are going to see in a moment, but you can modify manually the scale, the length, the width and the height of the object, well, more precisely their proportions. So first is the length. By default they are 111, which makes a cube. If you want an object to be twice as long as it's wide, then it's done here. So let's come back to a 111 object. You can modify as well the width and the height of the objects. For example, let's make an object twice high as it's wide. Here, done. Let's come back to here. Next is the scale of the object. By default it's 1.9, which corresponds to 1.9 meters, which is the height of a human being, large human being. You can of course modify the scale. For example, let's go to 0.5 here, and the object is becoming very small. Let's go back to 2. Alright, so the object, we can modify its size and its proportions here manually, but we have no knowledge currently of the aspect ratio of the texture that we have selected. So I provided two buttons here in order to do that automatically. Those two buttons will adjust the aspect ratio of the object here accordingly to the aspect ratio of the picture. So the first button is the pawn button. You will use that button whenever you want to use the object as a pawn, and what it will do, as you can see when I click on this button, it will set up the aspect ratio of the side of the object to correspond to the aspect ratio of the picture. So when I click on apply now, you can see that my object is now correctly proportioned according to the picture. The next button is the map button. Will be the same thing, but it will set the correct proportion on the top of the object here. So if I click on the map button here, you can see that the correct proportions are now set up between its length and its width, so that the top of the object will be correctly proportioned. At the same time, the height is set to 0.01. It's because, as the name suggests, this button will mainly be used for maps. So when I apply here, then you can see that the object becomes kind of flat, and its aspect ratio is correct, is corresponding to that of the picture on the top of the object. So that will be very useful for maps, which we are not going to use right now. So let's go back to a pawn, apply, and we're back to our pawn here. Next is the texture section, which allows you to repeat the textures. For example, if I go to 2 here, then you can see that my texture is repeat twice. And if I go twice in the Y direction, then I go 4 copy of my texture. That can be used. Let us choose another image here. Let's hide that to gain a little more some room. Let's go back into the default directory. Let's choose a character. What's that? I've got a rogue somewhere. Well, this one will be perfect. Let's apply. Go back to the pawn properties. Let's click on the pawn button so that the object is now correctly proportioned according to the new image. And let's go back to downward. You can see that by multiplying the picture here, you can use one pawn as a group of characters. For example, if this pawn is supposed to represent a group of 25 characters, then I put 5, and I got a group of rows here, as you can see. Let's come back to 1 and 1. Another thing is that you can use a negative value. For example, this one is right-handed. Here, if I put a -1 here, then symmetry will be applied to the texture and it becomes left-handed. You can do exactly the same with the Y direction, and if you put -1 here, it will be upside down, which can be used, for example, as a convention to say that it's dead. It has been killed. So let's come back to 1 here and get our object straight. Alright, then you can re-upload the picture or re-download the picture in case you've got, when you're playing a network game with friend and you've got a network problem, you set your new pictures and your friends do not receive it, then you can just re-upload the picture, force a re-upload or a re-download. I'm not going to show you that here, but it's available. Next is the hexagon and square grids. Well, we are going to use a map after all, so let us choose a nice map here. Go back to the default directory, let's go to map, and I'll give you a few maps here. Let's have the magnificent Grey Oak City map here, so let's select that map, apply it, and there we've got the Grey Oak City. So let's go back to the pawn properties. Now we're going to hit the map button here, let's apply, and we've got the map. It's a little bit too small, so what I'm going to do is go up with my character, reselect the map here, go to the object here and give it a larger scale, for example 50. There we've got our map. We're going to fix that one, so we are not going to change it again. Alright, let's go back to, oh, I didn't give it any name. Let's call it Grey Oak City. Grey, oh, where's the A? There. Oh, W, K, alright. And apply. So back to our city. What I want to show you here is how to have a grid on your map. So you can just click the hexagon here and you can see that you've got a nice hexagonal texture. Got the same with squares. Alright. Of course, you can modify the size by setting how much you want the texture to be repeated on the map. So by default it's 1. You see that the hexagons are a bit large, so let's go to 20 for example, apply, and you can see as soon as I'm going near my map that the hexagon have now a correct size to play on the map. Okay, contain Grey Oak, let us unpin that one and check this. And next, the last parameter, the last thing that you can modify is the light. So let's go back to pawn here, rogue, let us choose a character. The rogue was quite nice, and let's make it a pawn again with a normal scale. Alright, there we go. Go back to the ground. Thank you very much. Alright, so the last thing is the light. Oops, object. Alright, in order to show you that, I'm going to change a little bit of the ambient light here. So let's make a nice night, right, you can see, so that we can see the effects of light. Let's show our object here on the left so that we can see. And now let us switch on the light. As you can see, when I switch on the light, the object is now emitting some light, which can be used as a torch, for example, when it will become a character, which it is currently not. You can modify the intensity of the light, so let's try 5 here. You can see that it's a bit stronger. Let's come back to 1. You can modify the radius of the light, so let's try 5. Okay. Unless you can choose the color of the light. For example, for a fire, it can be, or a torch, it can be sort of warm orange here. And boom, you've got your character ready to go into any dungeon with its light on. Okay. So I think we've been over every available properties in this window. It's quite a long video, but you can see there are lots of properties and lots of things to say about that. So thank you very much and see you in the next video. Bye bye.